The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Zektar's three eyes focused on the holographic display, showing the approaching void swarm. The crystalline being's voice cracked with desperation as he addressed the assembled representatives of 12 advanced civilizations. The calculations are clear, Zektar announced, his translucent form flickering with anxiety. The void swarm will reach the Kepler 442 system in 72 standard hours. 3 billion Zephyrian civilians will be consumed by their biomechanical hunger. High Admiral Theiss of the Draconian Empire leaned forward, her scaled features grim. My fleet's plasma cannons proved useless against their adaptive armor. They absorbed our energy attacks and grew stronger. Our phase shifters couldn't even touch them, added Counselor Vex of the Ethereal Collective, his gaseous form pulsing with defeat. They exist partially outside our dimensional space. The chamber erupted in panicked discussions. For 3 centuries, these civilizations had considered themselves the pinnacle of galactic evolution. The Draconians commanded fire and fury across star systems. The Ethereals manipulated reality itself. The Crystalline Federation calculated probabilities with quantum precision, yet none could stop the Void Swarm, a plague of sentient machines that devoured entire worlds, leaving nothing but cosmic dust. What about the humans? Asked a quiet voice from the back. The chamber turned to see Counselor Mira, a small representative from the recently discovered Sol system. Her species had been granted observer status only decades ago, barely noticed among the giants of galactic civilization. This snorted, smoke curling from her nostrils. The humans. They've barely achieved faster-than-light travel. Their weapons are primitive projectiles and chemical explosives. Their mathematics are elementary, Zektar added dismissively. They haven't even solved the unified field equations. Vex's form rippled with what might have been laughter. They still use physical matter for everything. No quantum manipulation, no dimensional folding. What could such a primitive species possibly offer? Mira stood her ground. They have something you don't understand. Something you've never needed to develop. And what's that? Theiss demanded. Desperation. Before anyone could respond further, alarms blared throughout the station. The Void Swarm had accelerated. Impact with Kepler 442 was now estimated at 18 hours. Captain Sarah. Chen gripped the armrests of her command chair as the UES Defiance dropped out of warp at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Around her ship, the largest human fleet ever assembled spread across space. 200 vessels of every class, from massive dreadnoughts to small fighters. My God, whispered her tactical officer, staring at the scanner display. The Void Swarm stretched across space like a black cancer. Millions of writhing biomechanical entities moving with terrifying purpose toward the inhabited worlds. Status report, Chen ordered. Enemy contacts number approximately 4 million individual units. Captain, each one roughly frigate-sized. They're already beginning to strip mine the outer planets, Chen nodded grimly. The reports had been accurate. The Void Swarm didn't just destroy, it consumed, breaking down matter at the molecular level to fuel its endless reproduction. Sir, called the communications officer, we're receiving multiple transmissions from the retreating alien fleets. They're telling us to run. Put me through to all ships, Chen commanded. This is Captain Chen to all vessels. I won't lie to you, this looks impossible. The enemy outnumbers us 20,000 to 1. Our allies have abandoned the field, but 3 billion innocent people are counting on us. She paused, looking at the faces of her bridge crew, young and old, from every nation on Earth, united by a common purpose. We are human. We've never had the luxury of superior technology or overwhelming force. We've survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters that should have ended us. We've always been the underdogs. Today is no different, Chen's voice grew stronger. Every species in this galaxy developed in paradise worlds, with abundant resources and peaceful evolution. They've forgotten what it means to fight for survival. But we remember. We carry 10,000 years of struggle in our genes. Today we show them what that means. The attack began with a coordinated strike that defied every tactical manual in the galaxy. While other species had tried to match the Void Swarm's technology, humans did something unexpected. They ignored it entirely. Human fighters dove directly into the swarm, their pilots ejecting at the last second while their ships detonated nuclear warheads inside the enemy formations. Dreadnoughts rammed into swarm clusters, their captain staying at the helm until the final moment. When energy weapons proved ineffective, humans resorted to kinetic projectiles. Chunks of depleted uranium accelerated to significant fractions of light speed. When even that failed, they used something no other species had considered: biological warfare. Dr. Martinez's voice crackled over the comm from the research vessel Darwin. We've analyzed their molecular structure. They're silicon-based, but they use organic compounds for energy storage. I'm releasing engineered viruses now. It was insane. Humans were fighting machines with diseases, and it was working. The void swarm began to falter as the biological agents spread through their network, disrupting their hive mind communications. Human ships pressed their advantage, using every dirty trick learned from millennia of warfare. Captain Chen watched as her tactical display showed the tide turning. All ships commence Operation Desperate Gambit. What followed would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for centuries. The human fleet formed a massive sphere around the remaining swarm, then began firing inward, not at the enemy but at specific points in space, creating a controlled gravitational collapse. The humans were artificially creating a black hole. Are you insane? This's voice screamed over the communication channel as the draconian fleet retreated to a safe distance. You'll destroy the entire system. Not if we do this right, Chen replied calmly, even as her ship shook from gravitational stress. We've got one shot. The black hole formed exactly where Chen had calculated. The void swarm, caught in its inescapable pull, was torn apart at the subatomic level. But instead of growing, the artificial singularity collapsed on itself, dissipating in a burst of Hawking radiation. The silence that followed was deafening. In the aftermath, as rescue ships helped evacuate damaged human vessels, the Galactic Council reconvened. The chamber was different now, respectful, humbled. How? Zektar asked simply. How did you succeed where we failed? Admiral Chen, now bearing scars from her ship's near destruction, looked at the assembled aliens with exhausted but steady eyes. You want to know our secret? We're afraid of everything. We fear death, extinction, failure, pain. But we've learned something you forgot. Fear isn't weakness. It's fuel. She gestured to the tactical display showing the debris field where the void swarm had been. You called our weapons primitive. You were right. You said we couldn't match your technology. You were right. But you made one mistake. And what mistake? Fex asked. You assumed that mattered. Chen's voice carried the weight of human history. We've been fighting extinction since we crawled out of the primordial soup. We've never had the luxury of surrender. When faced with impossible odds, we don't calculate probability of success. We find a way or make one. The chamber remained silent as her words sank in. Every species here evolved in paradise. We evolved in hell. That's not a weakness, it's our greatest strength. From that day forward, humanity was no longer considered a primitive observer species. They became the galaxy's guardians against extinction, not because they were the strongest or smartest, but because they alone remembered how to fight when victory seemed impossible. The void swarm was gone, but its greatest victory was unintentional. It had reminded the galaxy that sometimes the most dangerous opponent isn't the one with the best technology. It's the one with nothing left to lose.